Hello everyone and welcome to episode 4 of the Career Talk series. We have today with us Mr. Atulya Bhat. I and Ayata Malviya, along with my co-hosts Nathan Phillip, Sutir Baru and Tashri Sultania will interact with our guest today. We will learn about his personal experiences with the career opportunities to explore, and the general queries we have in the entrepreneurial experience. I now request Nathan to introduce our guest for the day.
Mr. Atulya Bhat graduated with a B.Tech in Mechanical Engineering from the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. He then went on to pursue an MBA in General Management and Finance from the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. He has over 10 years of work experience with various stints across companies such as Goldman Sachs, Nomura and Matrix Partners VC. Using this experience, he then co-founded Jodo in early 2020, a company aimed at making education payments simpler in India. We welcome you, sir, to another episode of the Career Talk series and look forward to learning about entrepreneurship as a career.
Thank you, Nathan. It is indeed a pleasure to host such an accomplished person on our Career Talk show. I now request Tashvi to initiate the interaction.
Certainly, Anaya. So, as a child, did you see yourself being an entrepreneur?
First of all, thank you for having me. Really excited to be doing this. No, I did not. Right, and I did not till a long time. Right? Not even in my college, to be honest. Right after my MBA, I worked with this venture capital firm called Matrix Partners, and this was in first half of the previous decade, 2013-14. That's when sort of startups became more mainstream, more popular in the country. That's when I first got to know about it and was interested in it. Right, so I joined this venture capital firm. As you know, venture capital firm is an investment firm which invests in startups, early stage startups, typically technology startups. And I was part of the investment team where I looked at these startups very closely, right? Interacted with founders very closely. Got a ringside view of what it takes to start a company, right? And that's what sort of motivated me, inspired me to start up.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you have the courage to leave a stable job and to begin a startup?
Yeah, look, I think, yes, startups are risky. Two things about startups, right? One is it takes a long time to build something. It takes at least 10-15 years to build a company of any decent size. Second is the probability of success is not very high, right? So one has to sort of take this into consideration, and one has to be fully convinced about this aspect to get into entrepreneurship, right? So for me, I think Mark Zuckerberg says this, the biggest risk one can take in one's life is not taking any risk, right? So for me, I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and I wanted to spend the next 15-20 years of my life building something of value, right? And I thought building a company was very challenging. It's a great vehicle for personal growth, right? So, and wanted to do it irrespective of the end result. Right, so it depends on the mindset. So if you have a mindset that like this is what I want to do, I want to build this company, I want to go through that journey, then you don't view it as much as a risk. Right?
Yeah.
You view it as something you want to do, and so you're doing it.
A follow-up to that. So in Bangalore, especially a city with many startups beginning all the time, was there ever any fear of dying on the vine in terms of your company?
That fear, so we are still very early in our journey,
Yeah.
to be honest. We are just a 3-year-old company, right? So that fear exists even today, every day, right? And that fear is going to exist for some time, right? Because to build a company, you have to do various things, right? First is you need to have an idea. Then you need to assemble some resources, which is you need to hire a team, you need to get some capital to get started. Then you need to build a product or a service which people want, which customers want. And then you need to scale it to get to a stage where it is sustainable, which means that your business has to make some profits.
Yeah.
Right? So all of this is a long journey.
Yeah.
Right? So you always have these doubts. whether you're going to get to the next stage of this thing. But that's the challenge of building a startup. You have to assemble these resources. You have to build something of value. Then you have to build something which is large and then sustainable. Right. So that's the challenge of building. So that fear is there every day.
How did you conceive your idea for this startup?
Yeah. So that's it took us a long time to come up with this idea. So some backstory. Actually, both my co-founders are also, we were colleagues in my previous organization, and we left the company without an idea. So we did not have an idea when we left. We said that we're going to start something, but we don't know what we're going to start. So now then we were sitting and then thinking, now what are we going to do? So the approach we took was actually through customer surveys and user research. Literally, we went and spoke to 1,000 people. Right. So we had some idea that we wanted to do something in financial services because of our background and some knowledge about it. Not a lot though. But we said we wanted to do something in financial services. So we said, why don't we go and ask a lot of people about their problems in finances, right? So we went and asked everyone we could see around you. Literally, we went to a shop owner. We went and sat outside IT parks, and when they came out for their lunch breaks or tea breaks, we used to say, can I ask you some questions for 5-10 minutes? I'm a student. I'm just trying to do some survey. So we posed as various, whatever we could do to get some answers, and we asked about their life. We asked about their sort of finances. We asked, because some of these are personal questions, right? So no one's going to tell you that, okay, this is my earning, this is where I spend. But we found a way to interview, to make them comfortable, to understand, okay, which banks do you use, which financial products do you use, what do you use it for, and things like that, right? So we did this over a period of 9 to 10 months, right? And we used to interview every day 10-15 people, right? And we used to collate those insights from those interviews we did. And one of the common themes we saw was around education fee payments. People across income segments said that fee payment is their most important spend. It's like all of us would relate to it, right? All of our parents would think that education is the most important thing, right? We would cut down on anything else, but I want my kid to go to the best school, best college, best coaching, whatever it is, right? So the spends in a household for education is very high, right? So we wanted to create a financial product to make that spend more convenient, more affordable for parents and students, and then that's how the idea was conceived, right? So we started with schools, and then when we went to schools, we understood the problems schools faced. Then we went to colleges, we understood what are the nuances in a college fee payment, right? So typically in a startup, in an entrepreneurship, you don't have the full picture on day one. You just have a small spark, and then you follow that spark. It's a rabbit hole, so you keep going through it. So the idea we had 3 years back to what we are now is very different. It's much more evolved, right? And what we will be 3 years later will be even more different, because every day we learn from our customers, from people we speak to. Every day we are thinking, what else can we build for our customer? What else can we build for the education institutes we work with? What else can we build for that parent who we are serving, right? So it keeps evolving, right? You start at some point and then you keep going.
Why choose Jodo as the name for your company?
It's an interesting question. So Jodo comes from the Hindi word Jodo, right?
Yeah.
So it's so we get this all the time. Oh, that Jodo, this is okay. So the reason was, one of the things we heard when we did these interviews. People said, हम पैसा जोड़ते हैं बच्चे के education के लिए, right? So पैसा जोड़ो was the thing which stuck with us, right? So they were accumulating money, or they were they were saving money
Okay.
for education, right? So that's how we came up with Jodo, right? And it was a two-syllable word, which is very easy to say. So that's why we started with that name.
Sir, could you tell us about your support systems that helped you embark on this journey?
Yeah, I think very important. For now, India and Bangalore in particular is a hotbed of startups. Right? So many startups, and now those startups have become large companies. Some of them have become public companies. I think there are different levels of support system. One is the ecosystem layer, which means that there are many people who have done this, which means that I can reach out to them to learn from their experiences. I can reach out to other founders, right? Because there are a lot of founders already, right? There are a lot of venture capital. I used to work at a venture capital firm, so now there are many venture capital firms, which means that people can provide you capital to start a business. If you have a good idea and if you have a good track record, people are ready to give you some money to start something, right? Without that, we couldn't have even started, right? We did not have enough money to get started, but there were some people who supported us, right? So there is some ecosystem support, right? Which is, now anyone who wants to start a startup in India, we have so much knowledge as an ecosystem, how to start, who to approach, how to build 0 to 1, which is the initial part of the journey, how to hire, who to hire, right? So much talent. We have so much engineering talent. So that ecosystem is very, very strong, and it's going to get only stronger, right? So it's a great time for us to be building companies in India, because obviously then there's a support system or the ecosystem of like just internet, right? Everyone has internet now, which allows us to do all of these things, right? Everyone has a mobile phone, which allows us to do all of these things, right? So all of those are sort of macro factors and ecosystem factors. Obviously, the other support system is more personal, right? Like your family,
Yeah.
right? So for me, very lucky that like when I said that I wanted to leave my job, a stable job like you mentioned, and start up, my parents did not say that, oh, why are you doing it? My parents were very happy that I took that decision, right? So that's the changing mindset of our country, right? Everyone wants to become an entrepreneur, everyone wants to start a company, everyone wants to use this opportunity to do something, right? So same with my family, right? So they were very happy that I took this call, right? So that support system has been fantastic.
You mentioned your co-workers, your co-founders. How currently do you divide and manage responsibilities between you and your co-founders?
Yeah, so I'm both my co-founders, Kaustav and Raghav. So when we started, look, when we were planning, right, what do we need to do in the next 12 months, next 2 years, there were some key pieces. Someone has to look after, for example, business development. Someone has to look after operations. Someone has to look after product and engineering, for example. Right? So we had a discussion on who wants to do what, right? And then we said, okay, I'm going to take care of this. And someone else said they're going to take care of that, right? Based on interest, based on what we all thought we were good at, who was best suited to take up that piece of responsibility. And we decided, right? It was not a very difficult conversation, right? So typically, one of the things about startups, which it teaches you, is that you should be able to do everything, right? So we are all generalists in a sense, right? So I have my days where I'm doing sales, I have my days where I'm doing support, I'm doing operations, doing product, right? So we all sort of take up different hats, and we only ask ourselves what needs to be solved, what's the burning problem which we need to solve, what do we need to do, right? And then one of us puts our hands up and says that we need to do it. So I will take up the responsibility to do it and then do it. Right? So that's how it works.
So do you think your extensive education helped you on this path?
Absolutely. Right. So I think the biggest help is one is I would have never gotten to work in a venture capital firm if I did not go to the colleges I did. Right? Maybe I would have, but it was much easier, right? Or I had the opportunity at least, right, to get into that firm. Because I got into that firm, I got exposed to the world of startups. I got an opportunity to meet founders who are building startups, network with a lot of industry folks, right? And that played a part in me, inspiring me to start up, right? So definitely. The other one is, so the education opens up opportunities, opens up doors. Obviously, you have to still walk through the door, but it opens up doors. The other thing is the network of alumni, right? Which is, I can reach out to my batchmates from college even now for various things, for help on various things, right? So that's a very, very big asset, right? So I can always go back to them and ask, okay, this is my problem, how do I solve it? Can I get a connect to this person? Someone would be connected, right? Someone would know someone, or someone would have been working there in that industry for such a long time that it's one phone call changes the game for us, right? So very, very fortunate to have got that opportunity to study in the institutions I have studied. It's definitely, there's no doubt that it has played such a huge role in what I'm doing.
So, sir, what is the preparation required to get into the IITs and the IIMs?
I got into IIT 20 years back, about 17, 18 years back, right? So I might not be the best person to tell you how to prepare for IIT, right? As in, I'm sure there are so many resources, and today there are like so many coaching institutes and preparation, this thing, which will tell you better on how to do it. If I look back at my journey, I think there were two things which helped me, two or three things. One was my peers, right? I think anywhere, I think the importance of your environment is immense, right? I went to school in Bangalore, which was very good because a lot of people were motivated to do something, right? They also wanted to do something. They wanted to get into IIT or other very reputed institutions. So there was everyone worked hard. So you also sort of get rubbed off, right? And you also work hard. So the environment is very important. So if you're the only person working hard where other people are not aligned to what you want to do, then it becomes very hard for you to just work. So always be in an environment which is aligned to what you want to do, right? Because that helps. I think second is at least at that in whatever 10th, 11th, 12th, right? Just before you get into engineering colleges or any professional course, you should be clear of what you like, right? I think we were chatting just before this started, right? I love math, I love physics, right? So working on those problems was not work really, was not a chore. I genuinely enjoyed it. Even today, in my free time, I read books on math and physics, right? Just as leisure, not to do anything else, right? So I just loved it, and I just enjoyed the process of sitting down with a problem, not knowing how to solve it, but grappling with that problem, toying with that problem, trying to look at that problem from various angles, and then getting to a solution and getting to some understanding of some concept which you did not understand, right? That journey is very, very enjoyable, and that's what we do today also. If I look at, abstract out what I do today, the same thing. In our companies, there are problems to solve. It could be various problems, right? How do we increase our sales velocity, for example, or how do we increase our revenues or increase our profit? These are problems. So then you look at this problem in various ways, look at how do you get to an answer to it, and then you try to solve it, right? So I love problem solving in a sense, right? So if you really like math, physics, problem solving, and then be in the right environment, I think you'll this thing. But I don't have any tactical advice because it's been a long time for me, right? Since I went through that exam. But it was very stressful.
Yeah.
I must be very honest that it was very stressful at those 2 years, right? I think mind has a way of editing things to have only the nice things, but at that point in time it was very stressful.
So you just talked about the stress you face, but even after giving the exam, there's the stress about keeping up with your peers after getting into the college. How do you deal with that pressure?
Actually, that's a great question. So at IIT, you have people from all over the country, and you've done well in your small well, in a sense, right? And then you've gone there, and everyone has done in their own wells, and they have come, and people are obviously very talented in various things, not just in academics, right? Actually, one of the good things about what I learned in IIT was people were good at various things. People were good at sports, people were good at music, people were good at drama. So it was good to sort of get to know all of these people. But coming back to your question of how do you deal with the stress of keeping up with others, and this doesn't end, right? That keeping up with the competition, the stress of whether you're doing well enough, does not really end ever, right? Actually, dealing with that or learning to deal with that is when you actually mature as a person, right? I think you become confident in who you are. You are not really competing with others, then you are competing with only yourself, or not competing at all. You just want to do something and you try your best to do that, irrespective of what others are doing or not doing, right? Competition is good if it drives you forward also, but the stress with which it comes with it might not always be good, right? So as you sort of grow older, you realize that you don't need to compete with others, you don't need to stress out about what others are doing. You have to chart out your own path, and you have to keep working towards that path, and hopefully you will be content with what you have achieved or what you have done, right? So that's how it is, right? And it's easy to say, hard to do. I still struggle with it, right? So, but you always have to keep reminding yourself, right? This is not a competition. Life is not a competition, right? You have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to enjoy your work. You have to enjoy your craft, right? And as long as you're doing that and doing the best, that's how it works.
So most of our parents, they tell us that college is the best times of their lives. They met their best friends there. So what were like your fondest memories from there?
From college?
Yeah.
I'll speak more specifically about undergrad. I agreed to that, right? It was the first time I went out of home, went out of the city really, lived all on my own in hostels where no one was telling us what to do really. So it's that freedom is very exciting in the beginning. My fondest memories are in college, are I think are around just activities what we used to do in hostel, right? Like just late night conversations, debates. That's all of us studying together for an exam, which is the next day. All of those are very fond memories, right? The other sort of lasting memory I have of college is just of the football ground. Right, I played football. I played for my college. So every day we used to sort of go to the ground and practice for 2-3 hours. Made some of the best friends on the football ground actually. Right. So that was very interesting. Right. 4 years we had a lot of competition, tournaments. Those are some of the funnest memories.
So when we talk about capital, what was your approach personally to raise capital to fund your company?
Yeah. So I came from the venture capital background. So had some insight into how it works. Had some network into the people, the relevant people in these firms. That definitely helped. For us, the path we chose, we couldn't have done it or couldn't have really got started with any without external capital. Right? We did not have enough money with ourselves to sort of start it. So we had to take capital. The approach we have then or even now is to take as little capital as possible. Right? Because to become as capital efficient as possible, because it is someone's money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right? So it's we have to be very careful about how we use it, very prudent about it. Right? So I think one of the issues or one of the things which our ecosystem got wrong, or we are maturing as an ecosystem, is we always celebrate raising a lot of capital. Right? That's not really the right approach. Right? Because raising a lot of capital means there is a lot more pressure. You have to return a lot more capital because you have raised a lot more capital. You have the pressure to create so much value, and that capital has a cost, right? And capital also makes you complacent to make mistakes, to not keep a tight ship. Right? You spend on things you shouldn't be spending on. You are not then creative enough to find low-cost solutions because you have the capital, right? So for us, we are our approach is to be very, very prudent about capital. Take as little capital, only as much as we require, not a penny more, right? So that's the approach we have.
A follow-up to that. When you did get your initial capital, was there any sense of, or even now, was there any sense of, oh, what I could have done with more? Or were you content with the capital you had when you started your business?
No, in both these cases, I think we had a target capital what we wanted to get, and we got that much.
Okay.
So there was no okay, I want more, I want less. There was no thought like that, because we went and said that okay, this is what we require based on this business plan we have, and that's how much we went and raised, right? So there was nothing like that.
So how does your startup generate revenue?
Yeah. So let me talk a little bit about what we do, and then maybe explain how we generate revenue. So we are a fintech company where we technology-driven financial services company, where we build products to make fee payments more convenient, more affordable for parents and students, and to make the fee collection process more streamlined, automated for educational institutes. So that's what we do. So we build very specific financial products for the use case of education fee payments. Right? So we have a suite of products. We have different kinds of payment products. We have lending products which we offer. Right? The business model is very simple. The business model is for every payment processed or for every loan which we give, we make a small percentage of that as revenue, right? Depending on the product, right? So if we process 100 rupees, we might make, let's say, 1 rupee out of it, right? So as we scale that 100 rupee to whatever amount, a small percentage of it is what we make as revenue. For providing that service, we either make the revenue from the parent or from the institute for each transaction, right? So that's how we make it.
Sir, till now, could you tell us about a few problems or challenges your company has faced and how you overcame them?
Yeah, a lot of challenges. Actually, the biggest challenge was when we started. So we incorporated the company on February 17th, 2020.
Oh.
Okay. So right before COVID, right? So actually, and now it seems like a long time back. At that point in time, till February, we had no idea of COVID was coming.
Yeah.
Right. So really, we got to know a little bit about it in March 1st, March 2nd week, March 1st week, March 2nd week, it escalated, and March 3rd week, we went into a lockdown, right? So that was a very challenging time. We had just started the company, and the company was to serve schools, and the schools were shut down indefinitely. So we really questioned ourselves whether we should even do this, right? And at that point in time, there was no even talk of, we didn't know, right, when vaccines would come, or when it would open again. I think COVID time was very difficult for us, because one is we were a very young company now, we couldn't even work together, we were all at home. The customers we wanted to serve had shut down for a period of time, like everything else, right? So it was quite challenging at that point in time, right? So, but we stuck through it. We said, look, this is going to get better, right? So we stuck through it, and that was one big challenge in year one, right? Even wave 2 was a big challenge for us, right? Because we had again opened up and then again went back into this thing, right? There are various other challenges. These are macro challenges. This is not in our control, right? There are various other challenges which we even face today, right? How do we grow faster than how we are growing? It's a constant challenge. How do we generate revenues? How do we generate profits? How do we serve our customers better? How do we make our products better? How do we provide? So we are now a 400-member team. We serve about 2,000 plus institutes. About 1 million parents and students, about 10 lakh parents and students have paid their fee through us in this year, right? So when you're doing it we are not at a very large scale, we are at a decent scale. But even at that scale, there are some institutes who might not be happy with us. There might be some customers who are not happy with us because we have not provided the right service, we have not provided the right support, right? To build a company where all of us are obsessed about getting it right 100% of the time is something we are trying to do, right? We have to get better every day. Right? So that challenge is a perpetual challenge.
Yes.
So, is your position as a startup founder is always unstable, or do you get like a sense of thing that it's getting well established, I'm doing well, and it's going to stay?
No, there are always self-doubts. I think it's never stable. I don't think of it as stability or not stability, to be very honest, right? So I don't think of it that way, right? So we want to build something. We want to build something which we can be proud of, which lasts beyond us. That's the ambition, right? So we are working towards it. We just work towards it and see if we have made progress every day. If you have made progress every month, every quarter, every year, right? And if you have made progress, and if you have done better than what we were last year, yeah, then you have made progress. It's good, right? It doesn't matter like whether I'm a startup founder or not. I'm just working for Jodo, right? So we have a mission to make fee payments more convenient, more affordable. Have we progressed in that mission? Is what we just ask ourselves, right? So and I also have a small role to play in the company. I try to play that role as best as I can, right? So I don't really think about stability from that sense. Yeah.
So do you have any regrets along this journey?
I don't, because it didn't come to my mind immediately. That's why I'm saying I don't. I'm largely looking forward to things rather than dwelling on things in the past. I'm sure there are many things which I could have done better at, right? I could have done better in college, I could have done better in my job, I could have done better in the first 3 years of our journey. But that's okay. I did whatever we could, and we look forward to doing that. So don't really look at regrets as such.
What is one advice you would like to give to our fellow Sherwoodians before they embark their journey on the entrepreneurial field?
So So it's an interesting question, and there is no one field as entrepreneurship field. Right? Anyone can become an entrepreneur. Right? You can be an engineer and become an entrepreneur. You can be a doctor and be an entrepreneur. You can be a lawyer and be an entrepreneur. You can be a YouTube creator and become an entrepreneur. Like, entrepreneurship doesn't mean that you have to take one specific domain. You can be an entrepreneur in any domain. You can be a doctor and you can start a hospital. Right? You can start a school. You can start a education institute. It's also an entrepreneurship, right? So once you choose your field and domain, right, become so good at it, become very good at it. Focus on honing that craft, right? And if you think then for you to sort of achieve your whatever is your goal or aspiration or ambition, you want to start a business as a means to do that, then you take up entrepreneurship, right? So I think for young adults like you, right, I think you should think about what interests you. All of you have fantastic interests which we spoke about, right? And go deep into it. Study that in great detail, in great depth, become so good at it. Right? I think that's the only thing. If you keep getting better at whatever you want to do, entrepreneurship at some point might be just a byproduct.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to get better at whatever it is, whether it's law, or whether it's biology, or whether it is physics, or law, or whatever it is. Right? So focus on getting really good in your subject. That's the only advice I would have.
We'd like to thank our guest, Mr. Atulya Bhat, for giving time out of his busy day to talk to us about the fascinating world of entrepreneurship. We also wish to express our gratitude towards the management for giving us the opportunity to host this interaction and to get a better perspective about our career choices.
As we come to an end of this episode of the Career Talk series, I thank our viewers for being such a patient audience. I hope you enjoyed viewing it as much as we did presenting it. Thank you.